Good afternoon, Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Wednesday, February 21st. Let's run down what's going on today. A big crowd of pharmacists at the state capitol today pushing for a change in how pharmacy benefits are managed under the state's Medicaid expansion called the Arkansas Works program. They think the manager of these reimbursements are shorting them. They also seem to be suggesting that that manager, which also owns or has at least a business relationship with a chain of pharmacies itself, may be giving better deals to its own pharmacies. That's still up in the air on how we're going to solve this in a special session following this current legislative session, which continues on budget matters. Elsewhere today, we learned this morning, thanks to a Democrat Gazette article, that yesterday Chris Piazza ruled at a court hearing that the Central Arkansas Planning and Development District cannot spend $1 million it has left over in General Improvement Fund money that was supposed to go to legislators' local pork barrel projects. Those projects and that spending was ruled unconstitutional, but some of the money hadn't been spent yet. Somehow or another, they thought they ought to get a pass on that and still be able to spend it. Piazza said no, that money was being spent illegally. It had to go back to the state, except for this. $327,000 is going to go in attorney's fees taken out of state money to pay the lawyer who brought the suit that successfully challenged this scam for the third time. Perhaps the state will learn its lesson, but the legislature seems to be slow on the uptake at times. Rusty Cranford, a big-time Arkansas lobbyist who's been implicated but not charged previously in several pending federal investigations about misuse of gift money, money that was taken in kickbacks and spent in illegal campaign contributions and lobbying, reportedly was arrested this morning in the Missouri, in the Western District of Missouri. Northwest Arkansas Democrat Gazette's Doug Thompson reports this. No specifics on the details yet, but he's been named multiple times in two different federal probes, and people had expected something to happen. Does this mean more people are going to be charged? On that, we don't know for sure just yet. Guns remain a huge issue. 300 people turned out at Fayetteville last night for a mothers group that's campaigning for better gun laws. An amazing turnout on a rainy night. Charlie Collins, a state representative who pushed for the bill that puts more guns in more places, including in campus dorm rooms, is starting to feel the heat and is snapping at people on Twitter who are criticizing his gun position. So that's good news. Perhaps he can be beaten by Denise Garner in the general election. SWEPCO, the big power company that supplies a big part of western and northwestern Arkansas, announced yesterday that it's going to buy a bunch of its power from a wind farm in Oklahoma. It hopes to eventually, with this purchase alone, get to 30% of its power generation renewable sources. Donald Trump says beautiful coal is coming back, but perhaps not. SWEPCO is among those that's certainly moving away from it. Little Rock police nabbed a bank robber. He robbed a downtown branch of the U.S. Bank yesterday afternoon in broad daylight in downtown Little Rock. They caught him about 3 hours later waiting for a bus at the transit bus terminal about 5 blocks away. Had $500 in his pocket, unusual for a bus driver probably. Frank Scott, who's one of two candidates opposing Mayor Mark Stodola for re-election this year and who's being sued by the city because he has an exploratory committee to raise campaign money. Stodola says city ordinance doesn't allow that, but at the same city ordinance that prohibits him from having carryover money doesn't block him from doing that. In any case, Frank Scott has said, as Warwick Saban said, that one, the state can't be sued. Two, the Ethics Commission has already said the exploratory committees are legal. But he's raised a new issue. He says the city ordinance should be declared unconstitutional as an infringement on his First Amendment rights. Free speech is money in America today. He may have a point to raise, and we may have a big mess on campaign finance before this is all over with. We're sitting here as we talk, waiting for a verdict from federal judge Christine Baker. She's hearing pleas for some leniency for Joseph Beckman, the former district judge from Wynne, who's pleaded guilty to witness tampering. He offered lenient treatment to people in his court in return for sexual favors, particularly suggestive photographs of men defendants in his court. He wants home detention. The government wants him to get 3 years. We're still awaiting final word on that. Rick and Ann Massey. Rick is a very successful businessman and a UCA graduate. They donated $1 million today to the University of Central Arkansas to pay for college scholarships for first-generation college students. A nice thing. It'll be named in honor of Arch Ford, a former education commissioner in the state of Arkansas, and his son Joe Ford chipped in some money, $250,000, to add to the pot. We talked about the babe bracket on the Buzz this morning. I did with the show with no name. This is the controversy over a contest, a popularity contest, if you will, beauty contest perhaps, of TV journalist women in Arkansas. It's got national and even international attention. Women are saying they don't want to be judged on their looks, but on their profession. It sounds like they're about to change the name of this contest at least and clean up the appearance of it to make it not quite so overtly well, sexist, as critics would say. We had a nice discussion. You can read on the Arkansas blog what we talked about. Alan Clark, state senator from Lonsdale down in Garland County, put up a Facebook page today that propagates the nonsense idea that students from Florida who are protesting against the NRA are somehow actors being paid for this cause. It's nonsense. These students have something going. There are marches all over the country. It's a really moving thing. It's a shame that we have legislators who are so dumb that they propagate this kind of alt-right Russian bot nonsense, but there it is. We do. Children are marching all across America. It's an incredible sight. I urge you to take a look. It's one more illustration that that First Amendment is stronger than the Second. The pen is mightier than the sword. If you want to resist, don't take up a gun. Take up your typewriter, your computer, keyboard. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.